Chatsworth. The township I grew up in was created to house displaced Indian descendants who had their homes destroyed by the apartheid South African government. They could land grab using laws approved in the Group Areas Act. The township was established to segregate the Indian population and create a buffer between the black suburbs in the south and the white suburbs in the north. Chatsworth is 25 kilometers southwest of Durban, with one highway in and out, by design of course. And back then we knew we'd better not hang around in the city too much after dark, not unless you had a reason. So, when one of my boys, Gulshan, comes over one weeknight in the mid-90s, going on about foot-long hot dogs, apparently genuine 30.5 centimeter hot dogs, that only cost 5 rands, I was a little ambivalent. Apartheid was over, but it still wasn't a good idea to get in trouble outside the district. But back then, the allure of going into town was impossible to resist. So off we went to savor one of the universe's greatest products, the foot-long hot dog. We jumped into Gulu's hotted-up Mark I VW Golf with a pair of Pioneer 6x9s and a 12-inch subwoofer and headed over to pick up the rest of our crew, Mahen and Dees. I remember it clearly, heading down Higginson Highway, through Jacobs, into Clarewood, onto the Southern Freeway and into the city, looking for anyone to race the whole time. The place was on Gillespie Street, near the Wheel Shopping Center. That area was a hub of nightlife in Durban back then. We got our food and looked for some place to eat, Gulshan promising this would change our lives. It was a weeknight, so we figured we'd park at the same place we parked when we went clubbing at Baseline, the Addington Beach public parking lot. It was a long stretch of public parking with Addington Hospital on one side and a beach on the other. As we rounded the corner, we noticed the place was almost empty, so Gulu pulled in lazily across a couple of parking spots. We got out of the car to stretch our legs. The Mark I Golf is not a comfortable car. I love the smell of the sea in Durban. Gulu crossed the street to take a leak. I grabbed Dee's BB gun. It was a pistol that looked exactly like a real .45 semi-automatic handgun. It wasn't powerful or anything, but I thought it would be a great idea to shoot Gulshan while he was peeing. It was Dee's gun, and he only had it 'cause he lived in Silver Glen. Chatsworth was originally divided into units 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, and 11. Silver Glen was a suburb built next to Chatsworth, bordering several units, and it was where rich Indians lived. When Chatsworth was young, every house looked the same. Unit 2 only had 1 or 2 bedroom semi-detached houses with an outside toilet at the kitchen door, regardless of how big your family was. But if you were rich enough, you could apply to buy land and build a house in Silver Glen. I used to think it was the land originally allocated for the missing units 4 and 8. I don't know what the deal was with Silver Glen, but they didn't have a bus service, so you'd have to walk to your destination if you didn't have access to a car. There were fewer schools and other public services. They didn't have much street lighting either, so even walking around after dark was difficult. They were the only source of wealth nearby, so they presented the greatest opportunities for crime. As a result, they left their dogs unleashed and loose after dark. I swear, those dogs operated like gangs. No one would risk walking those dark streets at night. Dees wasn't wealthy and didn't have access to a car, but lived in Silver Glen, so he had to be prepared to walk those streets in the dark, and after being attacked and mauled previously, bought a BB gun to deter the would-be canine attackers. I took the gun, cocked it, and laid the barrel on my right arm for stability. I would only get one shot, but Gulshan's camel bladder worked in my favor, so I took my time aiming. I was just about ready to pull the trigger on my prank when my hand tugged at my jacket sleeve, obviously trying to get my attention. I shrugged him off. I was focused. I'd only get one chance to shoot Kulu midstream. My hand grabbed at me again, almost immediately, this time more urgently. I swung around angrily. He'd fucked up my shot and turned to face gun barrels aimed straight at my face by two Metro police officers. Bicycle police, which is why I didn't hear them approach. During apartheid, Durban Metropolitan had its own police force operated by white police officers who ran the city with an iron fist. They had their guns trained on my face. They took the gun, turned me back around to face the car again, and frisked me for any other weapons. Once they'd done the same to D's and my hand, Kulu strolled over, wondering what the fuss was all about. Those cops laid into us. I knew I deserved it because I understood what it looked like. They asked who the gun belonged to, found out it was D's, and then went in hard on him, berating him, threatening him, admonishing him. It was pretty shitty, but they had the moral high ground and we're gonna milk this moment. We even got in trouble for parking poorly. Eventually, they tired, threatened us one more time for good measure, and then left us to stew while they continued their patrol. There we were, eating our cold, dry hot dogs. Certainly not the way I planned on spending my evening. We were all mad with the way the cops treated us, but Deez was extra mad because they went extra hard on him. Deez was going on about what dickheads the cops were even after finding out the gun wasn't real, and that they weren't even real cops anyway. They were decoy cops that real cops used to bait criminals. At some point I said, "That's the problem with guys like you. You only talk big after the fight has ended." I was being a puss, just egging him on, partly because he was so upset. We knew from the direction the cops went they would reach the end of Addington Beach and have to turn around sooner or later. We could have left after eating, but we decided we wouldn't be chased away. About 20 minutes later, I saw them making their way back. They must have been 100 meters away from us when I heard the BB gun fire from the back seat in their direction. I could hear the pellet skip across the parking lot surface. Tick, 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 tick. We sat and waited for them.